Hi everyone. So welcome again to our video number 2 of the series Studying in Canada. In the last video we discussed about the basics or basic steps of the things that you should be doing when you're planning to come to Canada. Now let's get into the details of what you have to do. So today I'll be discussing about English proficiency test. So there's three organizations or four which do IELTS, SELPUP, TOEFL and PTE. SELPUP is pretty new and it's only accepted throughout Canada. No other country accepts it. So if you want to give SELPUP, you are more than welcome to do it. It's a bit easier if you compare it with other tests, but the only downside is that only few colleges will accept your SELPUP results for your immigration purposes. But SELPUP is accepted when you're applying for a permanent residence pathway. So if you are someone who's trying to apply for permanent residency or trying to apply for a work permit under LMIA, then you should look for SELPUP and then ignore other options. But if you are coming here for studies and trying to get a study permit, then the best option is IELTS, and the minimum score for IELTS varies on the colleges or universities, but the most common one is that you need 6 bands overall, and then you shouldn't have less than 5.5 in any of the available or any of the speaking, listening or reading or writing modules. So let's discuss about what are those modules and what should we do to improve our English. So let's start with speaking. There will be three it will be distributed into three parts. So first one will be introduction. So whenever you go do a speaking, the examiner will take a small interview, just introductory, what you did, what are your studies and what's your background. So once we are done with that one, then you'll have to speak on a topic that they will give you for they'll give you 1 minute to prepare for it, and then you'll have to speak at least 2 minutes. It depends, like sometimes examiner will stop you in between and you have to speak unless they don't stop you, so that gives a good impression. If you stop before they tell you to stop, then you lose score at that point. And in the last part, they'll ask you questions from whatever you talked about in the second part. So it's like a cross examination. You don't have to be correct all the time. They're just checking how your English is. They're not checking your IQ score, so you'll be fine as if you are lying too. So that part is the speaking. To improve speaking, I would suggest doing like what I did was I recorded myself every day, and then when you listen to your audios again and again for continuously for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then you start realizing that where you are making mistakes. If you don't have anyone, obviously if you have someone who could help you out, that's the best option. You just try speaking with them in English for 4 to 5 minutes every day at least, if you can't do more than that. But if you can, then it's a good practice to improve your English. Then we'll move to the second part, which is listening. For listening, it's pretty straightforward. You'll get 3 clips, and then you'll have to answer a bunch of questions. Some of them are MCQs, some of them are fill in the blanks, and some of them are like diagram pictures. So they'll give you a diagram and then they'll be discussing like directions or something else, and then you have to fill out of which direction the person is going or to which place the person is going. So for example, they'll give you a map of the mall, and then the person on the phone would be talking about, okay, on the right side of the mall is this one and then next to it is this one. So you'll have to tell which location is what. So that's how it goes for listening. For listening, if you want information or resources, I think YouTube is the best option, because you'll find hundreds or thousands of modules that you can do every day. You could even there's lots of channels that you can subscribe. I'll try to find some of them for you guys if you want to check out the description. And then comes the part writing, which I think is a bit difficult. It was for me at least, because I'm not very good with the writing, especially because of my handwriting. It's hard for people to understand me. So if you are someone who doesn't have a very good handwriting, I'll suggest that you start practicing. And if you do, if you don't have time, I would suggest go to someone who can help, maybe an English instructor or a teacher, and try to write at least 1 or 2 essays in a day. If you don't have time, then try writing two, probably more than two. But if you have, let's say, for 4 or 5 weeks, then you'll be good if you, even if you're writing one essay a day. But the important thing is that you get it checked with someone who is qualified enough to do that, and then someone who tells you your mistakes and helps you correct them. So that's the part about writing. I think there's the difference comes in writing when you're giving IELTS self-pep, IELTS academic or IELTS general. For studies, you want to give IELTS academic. Um, so for IELTS academic, if you are giving it for studies, then in writing you'll get a report and an essay. While if you are giving it for general, then you'll get an essay, but instead of the report, you'll have to write a letter. So that's the only difference. But other modules are, everything is the same. Doesn't matter if you're giving IELTS academic or general. And the last part comes as reading. Some people find reading as very hard. I think it is, but it's not that hard that you can't get a good score. So what I did from the beginning was I got a newspaper and then I used to read it every day, at least for 30 minutes. Even if I understood something or not, I'll just read it every day for 2 or 3 weeks. And if you do that, I can assure you that you'll probably get half to one band score increase if you do it for 3 to 4 weeks. uh, I tell that to everyone, but no one has followed that yet. I don't know why. I think it's boring to read stuff, but I think it will help you in the long run. uh, for reading, I think that's the best option. You don't need to do modules for reading, as long as you're reading newspaper and you're understanding what they're saying in there. What I would suggest is get a diary. I know everyone says that, but no one follows it. Actually, that get a diary, write down the words that you don't understand, try and finding them. Try to do that if you can. It's good. It will help you. If you don't, even if you write the basic words or like don't follow the all the synonyms, you'll probably get 6.5 to 7 band. Not easily, but if you write everything in order and you don't make lots of mistakes, you'll probably get 6.5 to 7 bands. So when you are giving IELTS, your aim should be at least getting 7 bands, because it will help you in two things: giving a good impression to the visa officer when you're applying for your file, and the second thing it will help is if you want a good college or a university, they will ask you if to have a good score. Because what happens is, if you have 6 or 6.5 bands and you have less than 5.5 or even 5.5 in one module, they'll be like, oh no, you have less than 5.6.0. So they'll be like, no, we'll keep you on waiting list. So I don't think so that's gonna work out for everyone. So it's not that hard getting 7 bands. It is difficult, but that's why you practice for 4 or 5 weeks at least. And then if you have money, or and you're living in a city, you could go to an institute for a week, see how good you are doing. They'll give you a good idea of how everything works, because they'll have practice papers for you to solve, so you can do that. But it depends how good you are when you're practicing for 4 to 5 weeks by yourself. And now we'll talk about PT and TOEFL. I'm not sure if you want to give PT or TOEFL if you are coming to Canada, because I already told you about the self-help that it's good if you want to do your permanent residency or open work permit, but it's not good for study permit. So you would want to skip PT and TOEFL. But still, if someone is interested how much score they need 60 in PT minimum. If you have less than that, you're not gonna approve for college or from IRCC. And for TOEFL, your minimum score should be 83. I would suggest just stay away from that and prepare for IELTS. And for IELTS, before it used to be online, before it used to be offline, I'm sorry. but now they even have an option where you can do your reading, listening, and writing modules in online while you can do your speaking in person. uh, but you have to be present for speaking. It has to be offline. You have to do speaking with a person, face to face. But PT and TOEFL give you the flexibility that you don't have to be present with someone else. You could just do on a computer. I would understand if someone who's hesitant to speak in front of others would want to go for PT or TOEFL, but at the end, it's not going to help you much. But it also depends. Like if you want to go to a college which accepts PT and TOEFL, then you're more than welcome to do it, and it's going to help you in the long run. So that was my video regarding the English proficiency. uh, I'll try to link some of the YouTube channels I find, and hope you'll enjoy the video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.